Morning, everybody. Call this meeting to order. Debbie, would you please call the roll?
Yes, Steve Summers,
Present.
Mayor Hall,
Present.
Annie Cornshaw,
Present.
Mayor Williams,
Present.
Mary Oswoo,
Here.
Mayor Finan,
I'm here.
Jennifer Locke,
Here.
Jeff Wilson,
Here.
Patrick Brown,
Here.
Jim Page,
Here.
and Herbert Burnett. Thank you.
Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second by Hall, second by Locke. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Do we have any audience participation? No. Okay. Let's see. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes from the August 22nd, 2025 meeting? Motion by
Second, Jeff.
Jeff Wilson, second. Second by Locke. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Consolidated financial report. Tucker Springfield.
I compared this to last month's, and the only thing that I think is worth mentioning is ICER was about 1.1 million in deficit last month, and now we're at 585,000. So we're starting to get those draws in, and the workforce development is consistent. I want to mention that as well because of its negative balance, but. That was it for that.
Any questions from members? All right. Can I have a motion to approve the July consolidated financial report?
So moved.
So moved by Hall, second.
Second. Mr. Wilson.
All right, second by Wilson. He was first. All right. List of bills. Tucker?
I compared these to prior months, and there's nothing really out of the ordinary for these, so I don't really have anything to mention.
Okay. Can I hear a motion to accept and place on file the list of bills? Locke?
Second. Williams.
Second Williams, thank you. Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none.
Yeah,
all-
one discussion.
Yes, go ahead.
We need to, we never actually voted on the previous one either, so.
Oh, we did not?
We had the motion, so we, I say we vote on both.
For financial reports?
Yeah.
All right, thank you. All right, then, well, we are on this one now. We have a motion and a second. All in favor of? Excuse me. All right, let's stay to order then. All right, we do have a motion and a second for the consolidated financial reports. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, now we have a motion and a second for the list of bills. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Action items. Strategic plan. Mr. Pavey.
Commissioners, I'd like to introduce to you Roger Pavey, who's the President CEO of the Illinois Association of Community Action Agencies. We asked them to facilitate our strategic planning process. Given the dynamic environment that we're working in, we didn't think that we needed to do a fully blown out strategic planning process because things have been changing constantly in the last few months, and so we did a very abbreviated version of a strategic plan. Part of that is for us to also remain in compliance with the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity. It is required of us to have a current strategic plan. The one that was previously done will be ending at the end of this year. And if you recall, when we went through that process, We had full engagement of staff, commissioners. We might even have gotten information from the community. But this is a very abbreviated version, and Mr. Pavey will go through that, and will gladly take any other recommendations from the commission before it's fully approved.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Delizzo. It's great to be here with you. RPC is a leader in economic development, social services, not only in the state but nationally. So it's a real honor to work with you and your staff on the strategic plan. This is focused as a resilience plan. We're at a moment where externally in society, public service is changing. And that's not a partisan statement, it's just a fact. From both sides of the political spectrum, public service is going to change. And the way RPC moves forward is going to change, but RPC is going to be resilient and work through that. And then you have internal changes. The building we're sitting in right now, you have some internal and local pressures and changes also that require resilience. So this plan, the theme of this is resilience, and thinking about the next few years and how to be resilient and maybe shift the way that you think about how business comes together for RPC. Too many things to click. Planning process. So we met with the leadership team and went through a series of exercises to develop strategic initiatives looking at a 3-year period. The strategic plan could be good under the Department of Commerce rules for a 5-year period, but we really wanted to narrow that down because the next 3 years are going to be critical. And thinking 4 or 5 years down the road, it's hard to imagine what the world might look like. It's just a lot of change right now. I'm with the Illinois Association of Community Action Agencies. I actually have the job that Delizzo held for many years. So I've worked with Delizzo for a long time. We used 2 theoretical foundations for this plan. One is results-oriented management and accountability, which is a community action-specific management framework that just talks about outcomes. But more significantly for what we're talking about today, we use the balanced scorecard, which Kaplan and Norton developed in the 90s, and it was used in for-profit businesses long before nonprofit or government. So we're applying this to a government setting. But a balanced scorecard really tries to look at 4 different perspectives. We're going to look at things from the people who need your services, and when we say people, we don't mean only social services. So it could be a parent of a child in Head Start, could be someone who needs workforce services, but it also could be a city, a town, another entity out there that needs planning services. So customer is broad in this sense. Internal processes, how things work within RPC and how those might be maximized and leveraged to improve the processes in the future. Staff learning and growth, including staff retention, that's more challenging than ever. And then how do you pay for it all? And in the for-profit world, the financial piece is at the top because profit drives everything. But here, we put it at the bottom because the financial piece supports everything above it. So going through an exercise, the MAP strategy, and this is hard to see, but I'll just walk through them briefly. If we start with customer, high-quality facilities, we've got to figure out where we're headed, where RPC's headed with facilities, not just for administrative purposes, but also with ICER, so facilities. And then thinking about mission identity and brand saliency in the community was the other thing that came out of our process, thinking about the way that all of your customers and the community view RPC and interact with RPC. Technology, the way people communicate, that's all changing, so it fits into that. Internal processes, cross-program accessibility. RPC does a lot of things. I like to say that you're like the mall. You have all of these little stores that do different things, and yet it all works together. But how do you look at cross-program accessibility for someone who comes in? And then how do you use data management and performance monitoring systems now that new tools are coming online? Things like AI that can analyze, did Head Start families get LIHEAP, for example? Like how can you use tools and leverage that and report that data back to you as the commission? And then under staff learning and growth, the big one there is the one in the middle, retention. Retention is difficult for every employer right now. Really difficult in the nonprofit space. The national average turnover rate for nonprofits at this moment is 21%, meaning at any one point in time, 21% of a nonprofit staff are new within that year. They have less than a year of service. 21%. That's a big number. And that's the national nonprofit average. I think you have some reports in your packet about RPC's turnover, but RPC I think beats that, but it's still a challenge. Increasing mission engagement. In the past, we've talked about you did a cultural assessment with staff. I think it's time to shift that conversation to mission engagement. When you say we have a culture concern, it sounds like something's wrong, and I don't see that coming from the outside. I think you have a great culture here. Could it be improved? Always, anywhere. But let's talk about mission engagement for staff. And then to create leadership development pathways. We don't have a strong enough bench throughout the system, so like creating that pathway for staff to gain leadership skills. And then financially, how do we pay for it? Well, we need to figure out a way to fund the facilities. And then we need to start thinking about everything not being a grant, because that's not the world we're likely to live in the future. We're going to get grants. They're not going to go away. You know, the social safety net is important. It will be resilient. It's hard to say that at this moment. We're going to have a government shutdown in a few days. It won't impact us. We don't believe directly, but we're watching it. But we need to be resilient, and government grants are not likely to grow even as RPC's expenses grow. Labor costs go up, health insurance goes up, all of those costs go up. If grants stay flat and you do nothing else, you get smaller. And we're seeing that trend across much of our network, that inflationary forces are eroding agencies. So, you know, how do we address that? Well, we got to look at what RPC has and how do we convert that into additional streams and sources of revenue that can supplement the grants. And one of those things is expertise and knowledge that many areas and counties of Illinois don't have. So, you know, can that be developed into some fee-for-services? And this is a nascent idea. It's not worked out yet. It's a concept and an idea that will be expanded upon. You do a little bit of that now, but how do you spread that out? So that's the strategy map that the leadership team came up with, thinking about some of those internal and external trends that we're seeing. So I walked through these key objectives. I'm not going to go through them again. And then we want to make sure that we're going to bring back to you a dashboard. It may or may not look exactly like this, but one of the things that I've sat through, you know, because I'm older, and I'm sure many of you have too, like hundreds of strategic plan presentations. And then 5 years later, someone comes in and does it again, and you did nothing in between, right? The strategic plan, in my day, it was a binder. You put it on a shelf, never open it again. Well, we don't want that to happen, and it won't happen here. Your team is on top of things, but there'll be a dashboard report that comes back that tracks the strategy areas. And that's it. So what questions could I answer?
Questions from the board? Jeff?
Thanks, Roger. For being here. Get a restart my computer here. But so I'm looking on the planning process. Item Charlie, page, I guess it's page 6 or page 73, however you want to look at it. It says the senior leadership team met on June 6th to conduct a SWOT, a pest, hope we got rid of all the pests, and force field analysis. What was the result of the SWOT? What were your key takeaways from that?
Yeah, I don't know if it's in here. I don't think it's in the report.
No, it's not.
But it's what formed the strategy map. So, you know, if you think about the strengths of RPC, and I'm doing this from memory, I don't have that.
Yeah, that's okay.
With me.
That's all right.
But if you think about the strengths of RPC, you have a great management team that is super knowledgeable and connected to your mission. If you think about the associated weakness with that, because for any strength or weakness or opportunity, there's something that counterbalances it. Staff turnover threatens that. And so that came to the forefront. And then the obvious one that, you know, before we even got started, we all knew was going to be part of the strategic plan was facilities. You know, having a long-term facilities plan. We use the PEST and the SWOT to do the force field. So that the PEST and the SWOT form, PEST is less known, but it's political, economical, social and technical, so
Okay.
like technology.
Yeah.
We used that to form the force field, and the force field only had a few items on it. Political was the biggest one. That was the biggest negative. Force field has negative and positive, attractors on there. The political environment was the biggest because it's unknown. So the political turmoil was the biggest attractor, followed by facilities and then, sustainability of funding. On the positive side, staff leadership came to the top, and the growth of RPC over time, like the resilience of RPC through many other, right now we're in a period of punctuated equilibrium. If you think about society, it kind of goes along, things change, but not that much, but wow, it bounces once in a while. It did it with
Kind of like the
COVID.
stock market.
That's right, it's doing it again, and RPC has resources that makes it resilient against some of those counterbalancing forces.
And I think what you were saying, the opportunity in the SWAT is expanding the reach of RPC to reach out using the expertise of the RPC, whether it's workforce development, et cetera, or community engagement, to have the funding source as a service, right? As a paid provider type thing. That's your nascent thought, right?
Yes, that's what came out of the leadership team. Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Further questions? Thank you, Mr. Pavey. All right, is there a motion to approve the strategic plan?
Oh, I have one more.
Go ahead.
Now I'm thinking, talking to my partner here, I realized I have one more. Well, I was looking at your strategic plan, and I think what was challenging to me, but maybe you'll figure this out in the development of the plan, is like clear metrics.
Yeah.
And it seems like when I look at what your current thought metrics, it seems it's more touchy-feely, more ambiguous, right?
Yeah.
There's not a real number, right, or a target that you're going to hit.
Yeah.
Does that make sense to you?
It makes absolute sense, and we
Yeah.
went right through that process as a team. When the first draft came back, it had a lot of numbers and metrics in it, but the feeling among the leadership team, and I agree with them, is we just don't know what's around the next corner, 30 days, 60 days from now. But it is a real challenge, and as Delitzo said, this is not a traditional strategic plan, it's more of a resiliency plan. So for instance, some of these measures in here had like 10% gain year over year, like the fee for service. We just don't know what's around the next corner, so that we back that off to be a little less specific in the metrics. It was a trade-off.
Okay. Can I add one more item?
Go ahead.
So when I was looking at one of the key objectives, or actually the mission, was to help the people that are being helped to be more self-sufficient, right? That's how I understood it. How do you track the transition from help, partial help, to full self-sufficiency? How do you track that?
Yeah, that's a million-dollar question in our world.
Yeah.
It's hard, and I don't know that anyone's ever done it well. And that's where the data leveraging strategy comes from in here, is that we need to be more intentional about not just doing grant reports, because that's the trap we can fall into in this world, is whether it's economic development or social services, we do a report for our funder.
Yes.
But did it make any difference?
Correct.
Right, so if we can leverage the data to track families, because any family who comes into RPC is unlikely to become self-sufficient because of one service. It just, poverty is more complex than that. So how do we make sure that we can leverage the data we already have to learn the lessons we need to learn to help families advance in self-sufficiency? We haven't figured that out yet. There's a good data foundation here. Like the RPC analyzes data better than anyone in our network. But how do we do that on a family level basis and track that family is a great question.
Thanks, Roger.
One thing to add to that too, for a number of years, there's been discussions about collective impact. So, as he pointed out, RPC, just with our services alone, may not be able to move the needle, but if we are able to collect data within the whole community, because there are other programs or organizations that may touch that family. So if we're able to share data across various organizations within the community, we may be able to actually do a better job of tracking how that family has been moved from point A to point B because of all the collective services that they've received within the community. It does take an organization to step up to be what they call the backbone. They kind of lead the effort of collecting and analyzing that data. There were some efforts when I first moved to Champaign. There were some efforts that were led by the Chamber of Commerce. It was the Cradle to Career effort, and I think during COVID it kind of died down. But that was an effort to try and address, I think, the question that you're asking.
Yes, true, thank you.
Okay, further questions? All right, seeing none, do I have a motion to approve the strategic plan?
So
All right, Mr. Hall, second. Mr. Wilson. We have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. All right, approval to submit a change of scope request to reduce and convert Head Start, early Head Start enrollments. Brandy.
Good morning, Commissioners. For the last several months, we've been talking about lack of staffing in the Fort Iroquois and Vermilion County areas. And we are just at that point. We are in an under-enrolled status right now for those counties, specifically in the Vermilion County area. The other centers in Fort and Iroquois are full, and they have almost full staffing. So we have tirelessly worked to find qualified staff. We've crossed into Indiana looking for qualified teachers. We just have not been successful. So it is that time we need to make a change and look at some other options to support the families that are there. And so we've made efforts to collaborate with the Vermilion County Housing Authority. They have 2 different centers where they're willing to work with Head Start, allow us to come in and provide home-based services to families, and to donate that space to us. And then we would have a staff person on site at both locations. And then we also have a child care center partner who's also wanting to work with us at the Roselawn Center in Danville, which actually was a Head Start location years ago. And then we also are working with the Danville Area Community College to collaborate with them at their Child Development Center. So we're looking at other ways to bring Head Start services to families in Vermilion County specifically. So at this time, I am requesting a change of scope to decrease enrollment and close a classroom. We will, well, it's actually a center, but we will be closing a center. And I believe that this will help us to reach and sustain our enrollment and also reach our goals of hiring all of the staff that we need. It also gives us more time to home grow our own qualified teachers. I am working with the Adult Education and Literacy Program out of DAC, and hopefully we can together build up our early childhood community in Vermilion County. So I am asking your support to submit a change of scope and also maintain our current budget. That's really important as we have health insurance costs that will be increased for our program. And we also are looking at flat funding. So I know that as we approach the contract negotiations here in, I think, October, November, we will be looking at some changes there too. So we have to be ready to support all of those changes. This also, supporting this submission would also mean the number of funded enrollments. We are decreasing the Head Start portion, or the Head Start enrollment, by 117 enrollments. And a portion of those slots will go into early Head Start, offering more infant toddler care in that community, as well as more pregnant mother services. So I think, according to our community assessment and our self-assessment, I think that is the best use of our services at this point.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the change of scope request?
We have some questions.
Can ask questions now, or we can do discussion after, whichever. If you'd like to ask a question, ask a question.
Can you just talk a little bit more about that impact in general and where you think people might be able to find services, or if their services just won't exist at all? And then the second part of it is, can you be specific with us about where the center's located that's closing, and if we have an existing relationship with another organization there, or is that solely us?
So that's really, we have two centers that are about maybe a mile apart, maybe not even that. And at this point, that particular center is what's open. However, the landlord is increasing the rent, the annual rent, from $99,000 to $142,500 a year. That is something that we cannot sustain. The other thing is that we're working with the city fire marshal and the state fire marshal on the Kimball Center. So that is just south of the Voorhees Center. And that particular building is in great shape. It's a beautiful building. It's been there for years. And I'm not sure why the previous, the CDI moved out of that building, because it's rent-free. It's a federal interest building. So it was paid through federal funds. So once we let go of the Voorhees Center, all of the enrollment will go to that Kimball Center. No one's going to lose their jobs. No one's going to lose their space.
Sure.
With the, the support of DAC and the child care provider and the housing authority, we're able to provide services there, bring those wraparound services, and also any Head Start kiddos that are needing, or preschool kiddos that are needing services, can go to any one of those sites. Currently, the housing authority does not have they used to have one about 15 years ago. They do not have Head Start services there now. A lot of the families don't have transportation, and this was a great way, I thought, to bring services to them where they did not have to travel. And families are excited about us being there.
Yeah.
So I think for the majority, a lot of the preschool age kiddos are going to the school district because they recently was established as a preschool for all site through ISBE. So a lot of the kiddos are going there. So I think at this point, the infants and toddlers is something that we can focus in on, and then hopefully as we become more established in the community, in the county, we'll be able to expand. That's my goal. That's my hope. There are several areas south of Danville that actually need services, but a lot of those families are working in that area, so home-based services aren't exactly an option for them. So we've been looking at, how do we serve that area in the best way possible, but we have not been able to collaborate with family child care providers because of the Smart Start grant in Illinois. Smart Start grant, I think I mentioned before to this board, it's a great grant for providers in any child care home or child care center. They get good funding, but they can't partner with Head Start, at least not at this time. We're hoping that will change in the near future, but it is having a big impact on us being able to collaborate. So I hope that answers your
It does,
question.
yeah. Yeah, it does. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions from the board? All right. Motion to approve the change of scope. Ms. Locke, second. Page, motion and a second. Any further discussion or questions for Randy? Hearing none. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. All right, approval of personnel policy change. Amy.
Good morning, Commissioners. We have for your approval this morning recommendations to change the personnel policy to align with 2 CFR 200 as it relates to merit retention and incentive compensation. And these recommendations are essentially mirroring what the Code of Federal Regulations requires and will ensure that we are in compliance with those requirements as we go through processes that are related to retention and merit compensation.
Questions for Tammy? Go ahead, Ms. Wu.
Can you go into a little bit of details in terms of what those changes are entail?
Well, I mean, essentially, we are already following a lot of this or most of it. So we're just making sure that the personnel policy aligns with Code of Federal Regulations to memorialize this in the policy. I mean, we have, review processes that are established annually, and incentive compensation and merit compensation has to be approved by DLITSO. So it's just more or less bringing these federal regulation requirements into the policy to make sure that we are documenting the requirement to be in compliance with them.
One other thing to add to that is for some of our funders, like DCEO, they want to pre-approve if any of their funding would be used for that purpose. So we've added language in the personnel policy. We don't specifically mention DCEO, but it says, if there are funders that require for us to seek that approval, that, we would follow that.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? All right, do I hear a motion to approve the personnel policy change?
So moved. Wu.
Move Wu, second Wilson. Any further discussion or questions at this time? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. All right, program updates, starting with Tucker.
The one thing I did want to mention, because of the looming government shutdown, fiscal staff have been advised to submit their draws early to try and get cash for the expenses that we have already done, so we're not too far behind. In case that does happen, then we can't draw anymore for a certain period of time. But besides that, it's just status quo. So.
Any questions for Tucker? All right. Human Resource Report from September 14th through August 11th, September 14th, 2020. Excuse me. August 11th through September 14th. Becky.
Yes, thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Included in your packets today are the personnel transaction report representing new hires, exits, position reassignments from August 11th, 2025 through September 14th, 2025. RPC currently has 370 active employees with 33 work experience participants. We have hired 15 employees during the reporting period, and another 11 employees are completing pre-employment processes right now. The HR department has been focused on several staffing strategies, always. You've heard this from Brandy this morning. Of course, to attract, motivate, retain qualified staff. Our team currently has 47 vacancies, and I do want to point out at one time within the last year we had 109. So We're not satisfied with 47, but we are heading in a better direction, for which we are all very grateful for. Those 47 vacancies are between Head Start, of course, community services, and workforce development divisions. We are working diligently on our talent acquisition strategies as we navigate external factors, as DeLizzo says, a dynamic environment that's impacting our workforce right now. Our current turnover rate is 19%, which is 5% higher than last year. And if you put that in perspective to specific exits, those are 25 more exits that we're ahead of from last year, which unfortunately is 74% higher. A lot of that, as we all know, is many elements that impacts exits, including external, internal factors, but also some of that is to be expected when we expand large programs such as what we have done in our eastern and northern counties with Head Start. All right. The HR team is currently preparing for several DCFS monitoring visits of our Head Start program. I'm working with Justin's team on the workforce development ADA compliance audit from the EEOC of Illinois and DCEO, and hopefully we're going to get through all of that with flying colors. I have no concerns there. And we are also wrapping up performance reviews as well as moving Tammy and I will be heading to the challenges with compensation planning for this year. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Seeing none, thank you very much. Early childhood Head Start management report for July 2025. Randy?
Okay, it's never a dull moment in Head Start. I will say that. A couple weeks ago, we were notified that we have a federal monitoring visit scheduled for the week of October 27th. The reviewers will want to interview our policy council and someone from the RPC Board of Commissioners. So I hope that at least one of you or two might be willing to come in and complete the interview with the team. Once I have a final date and know more information about the review itself, I will share with the board. Also, at the beginning of this week, I received notice that unfortunately we were not successful for the one-time funding for nutrition and health services, at least for this round. They are going to have multiple rounds. So, and I think that all depends on how much money the Office of Head Start has to spread out amongst all of the programs. However, we were awarded $300,000 in startup funds that were originally requested in the competitive application for the Champaign County area for Head Start and Early Head Start. And those funds will be used to renovate our kitchen at the Urbana site so that we can be, fully functional. We have a fully functional kitchen to provide our own services, our own meal services. So that's something I wanted to share with you. We hope to conduct the work in July and August. Therefore, I'm going to need to carry over this money, send out a request to carry over the money around January, if not sooner. The Policy Council is currently reviewing the rules of operations or bylaws. Hopefully by the end of next month, we'll be able to share this with the RPC board and also have your feedback and, if not approval. And then I think I mentioned at the last meeting that December 1st is our due date for our submission for the 3 grants. So you'll be seeing those grant documents start to come through either here in October or November. We tend to, or at least I tend to present that information in November, but I'm hopeful that I can get that to you by the end of the month of October. That's all I have.
Thank you, Randy. Any questions, comments? All right, Lisa and Rita aren't here, so moving on to Justin.
Good morning, Commissioners. 4 quick updates. One, I think that there's some newer people here. I'm not sure if I know Andy. So real quick, in workforce development, one of the primary things that we're doing is helping young adults or adults that are either low income or skill deficient go back to school. So the way that we do that is by talking to them about their situation, their circumstances, doing a career assessment to see what their interests are, looking at local labor market information, and then thinking with them about what training programs would make sense for them in our local economy based on their interest to go back to school for. Usually that's going to be a certificate or a 2-year degree. Usually we have a summer application window for that. And I'm letting all the commissioners know we're having a fall application window. So Debbie's going to send out the flyer after this meeting. That application window is going to open October 20th. It's going to close November 21st. We're hoping to get between 100 and 200 folks into training, and that means they would start school in January. So we're just asking for you all to consider sending that out to your network and promoting it as an opportunity for folks, young adults and adults who are low skilled or low income, to come to us and think about going back to school. So we'll send out that flyer. The manufacturing project that I've been talking about since maybe April is finally approved, and that's going to start in October. And I'm going to try and frame it based on some of the conversations that we had today. As a director, I'm good at being a backbone organization. When I'm with a group of organizations that have the shared goals, shared communications, and shared metrics, this manufacturing pilot is paying for me to run a group of 5 workforce areas in a program for a year. So I'm getting that group together in Kankakee, Peoria, Springfield, Decatur, and Champaign to think about how to improve our services when we're thinking about the manufacturing sector. So that's in the context of things we're talking about today. So getting a fee, quote unquote, to be able to do collective impact, that's what this work is. We're doing it right now, so it's not something that's new, it's something that we're working on, and we're going to try and expand it over the next couple of years. But looking forward to working on that project over the next year with those other 4 local workforce areas. The next 2 updates are small grants that we received from DCEO. One is homelessness prevention. We had some folks over a 6-month period, about 30, who were in danger of dropping out of training because they were a month behind on rent, or they needed to move in somewhere and they didn't have the ability to pay that first and last month's rent. We have a one-time grant for $40,000 to help with homelessness prevention for people that are enrolled in our training program. So the stipulation is you have to be in a WEOA program. This would be a new supportive service for us, so we're working with Lisa's division on developing a local policy so that we have everything in place when we start offering that as a supportive service. But we're excited to offer that service more or less as a pilot over this next year. My last update is, has anyone ever heard of Career Spark?
Yes.
Alicia and me? If you go to YouTube and you look at Career Spark 2024, you'll see a really cool video. It's been happening in Peoria for the last couple of years. There's about 3,000 kids that come from around the county. They come to a stadium. There's an expo-like setup of different industries, government, education, healthcare, manufacturing, and then it's an opportunity for kids to explore local industries and local employers. So as they're going into 8th grade, 9th grade, they can start thinking about what they want to do for a career. So that's been going on in Peoria for some time. Some folks at Carl are trying, and Junior Achievement are trying to bring it over here. Nick Elder with Education for Employment is supporting the Career Spark, trying to get Career Spark over here. Next Wednesday is Career Spark in Peoria, so there's a group from Champaign that's going to put eyes on it. And then my counterpart in Peoria for the past 4 years has supported Career Spark with a $10,000 grant from DCO every year. So we have that same grant to support Career Spark in Champaign, which is exciting. So I'm going to go to Career Spark in Peoria next week, and then I'm going to continue to work with Carl and Education for Employment and the Chamber and some other folks around trying to get Career Spark in Champaign County, so we're excited for that. Those are all my updates. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. You have a very full plate.
Yes.
One question.
Sure, go ahead, Jeff.
Thanks, Justin.
Yeah, for an update.
Oh, yeah. Thanks just for being here today.
Hey,
That
my
smile is
pleasure.
awesome. Manufacturing project.
Sure.
I think that's pretty cool. That starts in October,
Yes, sir.
and you're going to the different counties to conduct it? How's that work out?
Most of the work will be done virtually. So we have a sheet of deliverables that are things like employers engaged, career services provided at American Job Centers, career services provided at outreach events, career services provided through virtual or the use of technology. There's probably like 6 or 7 different deliverables, and then there's some continuous improvement deliverables, which is analyzing services at American Job Centers or provided by workforce boards or relationships with local training providers. Each LWIA will be responsible for kind of tracking those quantitative deliverables, writing or being prepared to speak to the narrative deliverables. We bring them together once a month to talk about our metrics and our goals and how we're improving services to manufacturing, but that's going to be done virtually. So people will be doing services in their LWIA, but then the team will meet monthly to talk about these things and how to improve them.
And the workforce areas, you said there were 5. What are those?
Sure. Local workforce areas have a number attached to them, but I don't remember the numbers for each of them, so I'm just going to call out the main cities. Champaign, Kankakee, Decatur, Peoria, and Springfield.
Your areas are geographic. I was thinking discipline. So you're
Geographic, yes.
okay.
Mhm.
Both Tyler and Paul aren't with us today, so Tammy.
I do have a couple of updates related to the auditor's office and the fiscal year 2024 audit. So the commission's well aware that RPC has struggled with the operations of the auditor's office not having been completed or not completed in timely manners. We are reliant upon internal reports that are provided by the auditor's office, and as you have been made aware previously, those have been delayed. However, at this point, we still do not have a July or August report. So it's almost as though they're not just delayed, they've stopped in their entirety. Oftentimes when we send messages to the Munis Help Desk for things that we have questions on or contracts that need to be added, vendors that need to be added, inquiries about auditor's office functions such as interest income being posted, they either go unanswered, we have to send multiple questions, or their responses are significantly delayed. This has just been really challenging for us as an organization, particularly for our fiscal staff. Just going back to the internal reports that I mentioned, those are the reports that we use to provide to our funders to substantiate our drawdowns. So the county has been made aware of these issues and has proactively taken action to transition many of the responsibilities that have been overseen by the auditor's office historically over to a newly created finance department that is under the county executive. And so that transition is effective Monday, the 29th. And so we are hopeful that many of those services that we've been accustomed to receiving regularly will be put back into practice under the new direction of the finance department. And I just want to, thank the board members who are on this commission who helped to facilitate that. And we're really grateful that we're going to have some, normalcy back into the operations that support the organization. Regarding the fiscal year 2024 audit, the last time that I reported to you, I had made you aware that it was going to be late.
For those of you who don't know, the audit needs to be completed by September 30th. And because of the many things that had not been completed by the auditor's office, we already knew that it was going to be late. The deadline that was kind of established was going to be the end of the year, December 31st. And I know that under the county executive's office, that the staff that has been that is there and new staff that has been retained, they're working diligently to get everything done, but there was a significant amount of work that needed to be done to get caught up. We did have our first internal meeting last week. CLA, who is our outside auditor, was on that call. And at this point, I did ask Travis this morning, the trial balance has still not been submitted, although it's my understanding that that's supposed to be done very soon. But I did ask CLA if the end of the year was still a realistic timeline based on where we are now, and they did say that they did not believe so. So at this point, it is looking like we are not going to have an audit completed by the end of the year, which is obviously significantly concerning, particularly because, as Brandy mentioned, we have OHS coming next month for a monitoring visit. So, and they have already asked us for our most recently completed audit, which we're providing fiscal year 2023, but by the time they get here, of course, September 30th will have elapsed, and we will not be able to provide them with the fiscal year 2024 audit. So I have a couple of other updates, but I'll pause there in case there are any questions or comments. So, and I do want to also say, you know, we cannot say thank you enough to the county board and the county executive staff who are working diligently on this. The next update is in regards to space search related to particularly ICERT. The last I reported to the commission, we have been in conversations with the county about ICERT moving into this facility. I know recently there have been discussions amongst county board about the future of Brookins and what that looks like. And there's still some uncertainty at this point, and we want to relay to you that DCEO is aware of that uncertainty and has indicated that they have concerns about locating here. We did meet yesterday, Delitzo and I did meet yesterday with Chair Summers and the Chair and Vice Chair of Finance. It was a really good meeting. And so there are still ongoing discussions about what that looks like, whether we're going to be able to, you know, put ICERT here. At the end of the day, it's not a decision of RPC's. DCEO is the funder, and they are really the decision maker. They will be investing over $6 million. So, you know, it's understandable that they have a little bit of hesitancy in regards to moving forward when there's still some uncertainty from the county board's perspective as to what the plan is for Brookins. In the conversation yesterday with the county, there was a discussion about if, you know, we are moving forward, if the county is going to retain Brookins and we are going to be locating ICERT here, the commitment from RPC for its administrative offices was also something that was discussed, and the county, again, contingent upon moving forward, would like a commitment from RPC to keep its administrative offices here for at least 10 years, which would be what, you know, the lease would look like in order for ICERT to have any kind of comfort level in being located here. So at this point, I mean, there's still ongoing discussions between the county and RPC, between RPC and DCEO.
Thank you, Tammy. You did a very good job condensing. Nothing left for me to say.
I do have one other update. I know it was already briefly mentioned by Brandy this morning. We are going to experience a significant increase in health insurance premiums. I believe the county board approved that this month, right?
30%.
Yeah, 29.8% increase with Blue Cross Blue Shield. The LMHIC committee
worked diligently to try to get, as you know, other respondents to give us bids unsuccessfully. So that's going to be a significant impact, obviously, to our funding. In addition to that increase, we organizationally will also be required to contribute to the HRA this year. So the county graciously, the current year, contributed to the HRA on behalf of RPC. But next year, that's a cost that will be transitioned over to us organizationally as well. So that percentage increase is actually going to be larger for us in 2026. So next month, we will be bringing to you a recommendation for what that funding structure looks like between employer and employee.
Any other questions for Ken? All right, seeing none, can I have a motion to accept and place on file program division updates?
So moved.
Second.
One moved Page, second by Cornston. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Thank you. CEO management report, Alexa.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just quick things. First thing I wanted to share is last week I went to the American Metropolitan Planning Organization conference with Rita Black, which was in Rhode Island. Yeah, it was Rhode Island. And it was my first time going to a planning conference. Most of the conferences I've gone to have been more on the social services side. I'm glad that I did because there were some great ideas that were brought back. But the highlight of the conference was Rita receiving a Lifetime Achievement Award. And when that nomination was submitted, it was with one of her staff. It was a very, very, very good package. We even had the Secretary of IDOT submitted a letter of recommendation for Rita to be recognized by her peers. And so there were about over 700 people that were in attendance from all over the country. And it's a true testament to the work that she has done here in the community in the last, she started here, I think, in 1999, so 26 years. So she hates public speaking, in particular when it's in English, but she did a fantastic job. There were people that were crying, as she was speaking. A lot of people came up to her and thanked her for her remarks, and they even asked for her speech to be submitted to the organization in writing so it could be shared with the rest of the members of the organization. So I wish she was here for the board to recognize her for that outstanding achievement. But nonetheless, we are working on a press release, so hopefully the local media will pick that up and publish that. The other thing is next week I'll be going to Pittsburgh. This is an invitation of PNC Bank, and it's a community development meeting with the CEO of PNC. This is the second time I've gone to this. So they've asked some community leaders, community-based leaders, to work with PNC on how they can invest their resources to do community development in areas where they have branches. So it'll be just a one-day meeting, but they're flying me there and taking care of everything. So hopefully I can report something positive as a result of that meeting on some of the work that PNC may be doing here in Champaign County. The last thing, which has pretty much been touched on, is the government shutdown. And I'm glad, Roger, that you stayed behind. So as he said when he was presenting the strategic plan, we have been watching this closely. The longest shutdown was in 2018 during the first President Trump's first term, and that lasted over 30 days. But in terms of operations, it didn't really have an impact. The because we were able to draw down funds, so Head Start was able to draw down funds. The state was able to draw down funds from the federal government, so there were no layoffs, there was no interruption of services. We continued to function. What we're watching this time around is possibility of it being different, because in the last couple of days, I'm sure you saw that the OMB issued a memo directing federal agencies to put a layoff plan in place. So we don't know if indeed there will be a layoff, if that will have an impact on us being able to access cash. As of today, I don't know if anything has changed. I think Congress is still in recess. So we're more than likely going to have a government shutdown. We are having a meeting that is facilitated by Roger's organization on October 1st. There's a small group of us that are going to meet early that morning, and DCEO will test out the ability to draw down cash. If they're not able to, then again, Roger's group is working on several pieces that will be shared with us and other organizations that are members of the association. And that is communication to you as our boards in terms of whatever happens on October 1st, what that means for us, what steps we need to undertake, as well as communication to our staff, as well as communication to the community. So at this point, we don't know what government shutdown will mean to RPC's operations. We won't know that until first day of the next federal fiscal year. So anything, Roger, you want to add to that?
I think you covered it well.
Okay. I think that concludes it.
All right. Not a very good picture, unfortunately. Seeing no old business, does anyone have any new business? Seeing none, we have no further business, and the meeting is adjourned. Will people on the CEO committee please stay? Thank you.